Hey guys, today we're going to take a look at another topic in analytic geometry. We're actually going to cover two different little things. The first thing is finding a midpoint of a line, and then how we find an equation of a line. So finding a midpoint of a line is actually quite simple. So what we need to consider is if we have a line here, for example this one, what we're looking for is the point that's perfectly in between the 2 points we're given. And like in other situations, if you ever have to find an average, for example, if you got a 50 on a test and you got a 90 another time, you can add the two together and divide them by 2. So that's actually what we're doing here. So when we're finding a midpoint of a line, we add the two x values together and we divide it by 2. And you can see how this is kind of formatted like a point. That's because this will be our x and this will be our y. And then we're going to add our two y's and divide them by 2. So to start off, let's just label the points that we're given. So we have an x and a y, an x and a y, and then once again, it doesn't matter which one's number 1 and which one's number 2. So we can just do 1, 2, like that. Okay, so now we're just going to plug in those numbers. It's kind of like another plug and chug method where the math isn't difficult, just make sure you have the numbers in the right place. So we have x1, which in this case is 2, x2, which is 11, and it's divided by 2, and then we have y1, which was 3, plus y2, which is 8, also divided by 2, and then go ahead and add the tops. So 2 plus 11 is 13, 3 plus 8 is 11, and then depending on what your teacher asks for, you can either keep it as a fraction or you can go ahead and plug that into your calculator. And that's what we would get. So that tells us right now that the point perfectly in between these two that we're given is 6.5, 5.5. Perfect. So in any situation, if you know your two endpoints, use this equation and you can get your midpoint. Okay. Next thing we're going to look at is using that same line that we have above. Can we build an equation of a line for it? You guys may be familiar with y equals mx plus b. This is very, very popular and you've probably covered it in some of your other math courses. So y is just y and m is our slope. X is just x, it's just our variable, and this is our y-intercept. Okay, so how can we actually find it? Well, we know that slope is our rise over run, or you may have seen it written as slope is equal to y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. So we know 2 points. That tells us that we know an x1 and a y1 and an x2 and a y2. Same idea, we can just plug these numbers in to this formula right here. So y2 is 8 minus y1 is 3 over x2 is 11 minus 2. 8 minus 3 is 5. 11 minus 2 is 9. Always check and see if you can reduce. In this case, we can't. So that means the slope for this equation is 5 over 9. So let's put that in our equation of what we know so far. So we have y is equal to 5 over 9 x plus b. We're not quite done because we need to figure out what this b is. And how we can go about doing that is if we have two variables, x and y, we can plug in a known x and y. We actually know two different ones. We know 2, 3 and 11, 8. So we can choose which one we want to work with. So we have 2, 3, which is probably easier as the numbers are smaller. So let's plug that in. Our 3's are y, so we'll put 3 there. We keep our 5 over 9, that's our slope. Then we put 2 plus b. As you can see, we now only have one unknown. So now we can solve and get b by itself. First thing we'll do, multiply 5 over 9 times 2, which gives us 10 over 9. And then we're going to bring 10 over 9 to the other side. So we're going to have 3 minus 10 over 9 equals b. And now we know when we're doing a subtraction of a fraction, we need a common denominator. So between 9 and, there's always that invisible 1 underneath, it's going to be 9. So we're going to have to multiply the bottom of the 3 by 9. So that means we need to multiply 3 by 9. So 3 over 1 becomes 27 over 9 minus 10 over 9. Now we just simply do that subtraction, which gives us 17 over 9. Perfect. Last but not least, we need to put everything back in so that we have our final equation. So we have y equals, first thing we need is our slope, 5 over 9 x, and then we're putting b, it was positive, 17 over 9. And so that's how you find an equation of a line when you're given just 2 points. Okay. Next, we're going to just take a quick look at if you're asked to find a line that is parallel to something or perpendicular. So they're asking for a line that's parallel to 2 over 3x plus 4. What's important to understand is when we have a parallel line, the slopes are the same. This is very important because if we want to make another equation, I need to just make sure that I still have 2 over 3 here. And then it doesn't matter, I could have plus 100 here. I could do another one where I have a minus number. For example, subtract 7. The reason that perpendicular slopes are the same is because if two lines are, parallel, their slopes are exactly the same. I could take one and put it on top of each other, and there's no change in the slope. Now perpendicular, which is what we have when two lines cross like this, perfect x, we have right angles. We have what's called a negative reciprocal for the slopes. And what this means is we're going to flip it upside down, and then we're going to change the sign. So for example, we started with 3 over 4. When we flip it upside down, we end up with 4 over 3. And then, since it was positive, now this whole thing's going to be negative. If it was already negative, we would be applying another negative sign, and we know two negatives make a positive. So if I need to write an equation, I could say, well, y is equal to negative 4 over 3, and then I could do anything for b. So I could do minus 16. Okay, last thing we're just going to take a quick look at is how do we find the equation of a line if it looks like this or like this? Well, as we can see, our slope is not really changing. We don't really have anything increasing like you might see usually. So what we're going to do is we're going to label them. So let's start with the orange one. So what we do is we need to consider where it's going through our y-axis. So our y-axis is right here. So it's going through 4. And that's telling us that no matter where I am on this x-axis, it's 4. I could label every single point. I could do this one. This is 1, 4. I could do this one. This one's 6, 4. I could do a point all the way at the end. It could be 1,000, and it's still going to be 4. So the equation of this line is actually y equals 4. And I know that because no matter what I do, y is going to be equal to 4. Now if we take a look at the purple one, same idea, but now it's not going through the y-axis at all. It's going through the x-axis. So we're going to find, well, where is it going through the x-axis? It's going through at 6. And the exact same rule can be applied if I labeled any point on this line. The x is going to be 6. So this could be 6, 3. I could have all the way up here, I could have 6, 1,000,000. So in this case, this is going to be x equals 6. And that's actually the complete equation. Okay, so we covered a couple topics today. So definitely give some practice to these topics that we have. And then subscribe and check out some other math videos, and definitely just comment if you have any questions or other things you want covered.